Guess what time it is? It's happy hour. What's up, everybody? It's Stephen Anthony Bailey back for another episode of the Hollywood Happy Hour podcast. I'm very excited about this episode. Our guest today is Gregory Nathaniel Fisher, one of my closest, dearest friends, and he is an amazing musician and composer, and he is here today because he is bringing us, and we've been talking about it for weeks, we meaning I. Sorry, water break. We've been talking about him I'm building up suspense. We've been talking about him bringing on the new theme music for the show, and I'm about to show you that right after this introduction. But thank you, Greg, for creating this amazing piece of music. He was a great guest on the show. We have a lot to talk about the film industry and being a musician and a film composer and travel and this, that, and the other thing. So I'm very excited. I'm going to get to that. What's been going on lately? Not too much. Just been, January and February have been a couple of my favorite months living in Los Angeles. The funny thing is they were the 2 months when I was trying to, kind of make something happen from, the bigger side of it. Like I was focusing on the creativity side more so than the marketing side, let's say. And so I've been able to just do nothing but work on the projects that I want to be working on. It's a quick story about that. The latest video I put out is called Gloria M. Wolf. And this character that I created is this infamous Los Angeles theater critic from New York. And it all started out because I go on Snapchat sometimes and I play around with the filters. And one day I went on there and it just slapped on like a bunch of thick makeup, wrinkles, and these giant glasses. And so I started talking as Gloria Wolf, and I immediately started making fun of myself as her, as if I was her least favorite actor. So then I wound up going on my blog, and I wrote a couple of reviews of my work as her, as sort of marketing ploys. And people thought she was real. They started sticking up for me in the posts, like, what's crawled up this lady's butt? Who does she think she is? I've never even heard of her, blah, blah, blah. And then so I did Our Town most recently. I just closed that show a couple weeks ago, and I wrote a review of the play as her. And even more people chimed in, so I was like, oh, I got to make a sketch out of this. So I did, and then I posted it. And I know that some people didn't click and watch the interview because the post was, here's the full interview video of me hashing it out with Gloria M. Wolf. And then if you click on the link, it's me talking to me dressed as Gloria M. Wolf. And some people were still putting things like, who does this lady think she is, like really going at her. And if they would have just watched the video, they would have known it was me. But it was a fun little practical joke I got to play. And honestly, it was just a fun video to make. Fun little acting piece. Character stuff that I learned to do, like at Groundlings and stuff like that. So it's been fun. And me and Jason are working on our new feature film script called Go Your Own Way, and we'll be making that hopefully this year. We're making it this year. It's a movie we've been talking about making forever. He's been wanting to direct a feature for forever, and I need to get my next feature going since I haven't made one of my own since Until Forever. You see what I did there? Okay, that's the last Until Forever reference, I think. It's a rainy day today. I recorded this podcast today. It's very rainy, so you're going to hear some light ambiance that you could play some Jack Johnson along to or something like that. So I hope it's not too distracting, but we really wanted to get the podcast recorded and out there since we've been talking about it. So anyway, let's get it with, I almost said without further ado. I hate when podcasters do that. So here we go. Here's the show, and here is the brand new theme music for Hollywood Happy Hour podcast, composed by the great Nathaniel Fisher. It's perfect.
Okay, well.
Tonally, like it matches the tone of the show. It's kind of got this some shit's about to go down essence to it. It's a little foreboding, but still fun.
So
Hip hoppy,
before
but
I
still
came over
poppy.
here, I was trying to edit it, quote unquote, and what I noticed was that from one take to the next that I saved, there's just this DJ scratch that I added in that just fit it perfectly.
Yeah.
And you can hear just a complete difference from that. Plus, I made more reverb on the piano, so it just opened it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And that makes a whole difference.
I want to talk to you about this because this is super interesting because I think it probably works in music too. I talk all the time about cinematic language, meaning
Yes.
like if you show somebody in they're completely dressed in red, that means something. So for you to add that DJ scratch takes me back to the early 90s of my childhood. Like this song that you've made for me.
That's how I feel represents you.
Exactly. So is that something that as a composer you are thinking about? Like what sound can I drop in here? Do you think about sounds more than notes?
So these days composing is more sound design and it's getting more into, that kind of thing.
Right.
So, but for me, I work with both the sound design, but I also write with music theory in mind. But like if I'm representing something certain, then I, think of it on that level. So like for you, I was like, well, he was into 90s rap. He was a kid of the 90s. So that's the kind of thing I put into it,
It's like you're creating somebody's sound identity.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Thank you so much for making that. That's I'm seriously like this is not contrived at all. Like I am honored anytime somebody does something for me because to me I've always felt like I come from like being raised not to take anything from anyone. Do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
And it's, to be honest with you, it's probably held me back in my career because I don't ask for favors or anything like that. Like you said, I would love to help you out producing the podcast. Why have I never asked you to do that? Because I feel like it would be putting you out, when in reality you're like, no, that would just be fun for me.
Yeah, and it'd be like an experience we could work together and, it would make a product that everyone would enjoy,
So I need to get better about that, and I think that's got to psychologically be something.
You and I are exactly the same on that level.
Yeah.
Because I don't ask anybody for anything. Not anything.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know. I guess, so rainy outside. I guess you could attribute it to, like, being afraid of being told no, but I've been told no a million times.
Yeah, so have I.
So what is it? Is it just that we don't want to come across as needy or as weak? I think for me it's I don't want to look weak.
That's how I am too, yeah. But also it could be on a selfish level maybe, where we're like, oh, I could totally do this on my own. I don't need you.
Yeah,
but,
right. Or like scared somebody's going to fuck your thing up.
Yeah.
Which is stupid because tell somebody that you want something corrected and they'll correct it. Everyone wants to be told good job, right? Like, every time I've done something for someone, even if it, like, I don't know that there is a selfless act. I don't think that's a real thing. I think that even if I were to go to a soup kitchen on New Year's Eve or something like that and give soup, there's a certain level of, well, now I feel like I've done this good deed, so
which isn't a bad
I'm
thing,
now a good person. No, it's not a bad thing, but it's also the thing of like, we got to get our minds straight on what this experience is, and like just like shed all the bullshit and be like, yeah, I went to the soup kitchen because I felt like shit about the 9 asshole things I did on the way to work the other day. So now this got me to an even keel. Now I feel better living on this planet with humanity. Like, we don't say that though. We like blur it. So anyway, going back to the work thing, I need to be better about asking people for help and honestly just working with people because it's a lot of fun. And this podcast has shown me that, like, it's reminded me that how fun it is to create with other people, even something as small as this.
Yeah, definitely.
So back to you. So I met you. We went to Lucy's. And then now we've known each other for going on like 8 years.
8 years, like. I think, yeah.
Something like that. And yeah, I don't know. It's been an interesting 8 years, but I want to know about everything previous. So let's start with like just the basics: where you were born, where your parents from, all that stuff.
I was born in L.A., greater L.A., Santa Clarita, and grew up out there. And then at about age 3, parents divorced, and single father, basically. And I would see my mom occasionally, but not as often. And then, moved around a bit and ended up back in Santa Clarita eventually. But through those years, the one thing that kept me, sane was music. So at about age 8, I want to say, I was like, I just knew there was nothing for me but the drums. I just wanted to play the drums. And so my dad bought me a pair of just drumsticks, and I would bang on everything.
It started with just the sticks,
yeah, my neighbors,
not the rubber mat yet.
No,
Hadn't
nothing,
upgraded to that.
Nothing.
Okay.
I had this elephant toy box.
Oh, there you go.
And it had a lid on it, and I would take that lid around and just bang on everything, bang on it. And
So
my neighbors would hear, and they'd be like, "Oh, I heard someone was drumming the other day."
So did you have like instant rhythm? Did you know what a triplet was? Did you know?
Oh, so I started at Sam Ash Music in the Valley. I started taking lessons, and
Who was your first teacher?
Robert Lobato. He was my teacher throughout my whole childhood.
Wow.
Up until high school.
And what kind of specialty was he? Was he like jazz drumming, rock drumming?
Rock mostly, but he also did jazz drumming.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
He's the one who actually wrote one of my reference letters to get into Berkeley.
That's correct. See,
yeah.
I say it all the time. A mentor or a teacher that cares about you, which is a mentor, is like the most important thing.
I moved around several times, and so he would just come to my house, and then he would teach me for like 30 minutes a session.
Yeah.
And he would go so I lived in the Valley in Canoga Park, so then he would go there. So then I moved to Santa Clarita. He would go there. Like he would drive everywhere.
That's wild. Like
Isn't
most
it?
of them are like, come to me or don't worry about coming to lessons.
And I first just met him one day. It was like, oh, we're doing a free learn to play the drums thing at Sam Ash, and that's how I got involved in it.
So let's go to that day. That day's very important.
I
so
can remember
you've been
that day.
cracking the sticks around.
I was 10 years old.
10 years old. Still no rubber
Nothing.
mat, nothing yet, just the sticks. So are you begging? Is this like a thing you had to beg for?
Oh,
or is
yeah.
It just like...
No, I asked my dad constantly, but my dad was kind of on the fence of like, he kind of felt bad for the way that my childhood was, He wasn't always there because he was dropping me off at my grandmother's, or he was, that kind of
Busy.
thing. And he was always
Busy,
working
yeah.
because he's a single father. So I remember after taking those lessons, we were at Sam Ash just looking around. He was picking me up, and one day I was like, he asked me like, what do you want? And I said a drum set, and I looked at one, and it was like $400, and he bought it.
Just on the spot.
Just on the spot. He's like, okay, fine.
This is after one lesson.
This was after a few. This was after
a
like
few lessons.
3 lessons maybe.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so let's go back to the audit day one more time. So you're on the way there, you get dropped off. Are you nervous to take this lesson?
Oh, I was, so nervous.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, I was natural though. I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just did it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So was it the kind of thing? He plays a da 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 da, and you go ba ba da da.
No, it wasn't even that. It was just a basic. Okay, this is the music in time, and this is how you play drums, and you play to the beat, and I just did it.
That's incredible.
Uh-huh.
For me, it would have to be like, okay, so you went, and it's, why are you doing all that?
Yeah.
You know, like little things. I feel like I'm more like, I play guitar. I've messed around on piano a lot. I've always been intimidated of the drums.
Yeah.
I have great rhythm.
That's what everyone
but
says.
I'm intimidated by
I'm
it.
very intimidated because you're doing so many things at once, and it's really.
Well, it is hard.
In my head, you're doing everything at the same time, so it's not really different things.
But even like, did you have any trouble when it came to like, okay, now let's add that kick drum in there?
Mm-mm.
On a syncopated rhythm?
Nope.
No, it
Never.
just happened.
It just
Jeez.
worked. But that's, you have to think about it as time.
So when you start taking these lessons and you're learning, and what was that feeling like? Did you feel like you had finally, well, not finally, you were 10, but you had found your identity? You knew?
100%.
That's the way that I felt when I first walked on, like, into a drama room and got on stage and started, like, improvising. And,
yeah.
I remember the first time getting a laugh. I remember the first time delivering a monologue. I remember the first time, like, doing a scene. and feeling that gravity in the room of like everyone was like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah.
Like it makes me sad because I know so many people that say, oh, I don't know what I want to do. I don't. They haven't found their purpose or their gift yet or
Yeah.
their whatever it is. So knowing that at 10, and I think I probably knew what I wanted to do that early on too, because I was, you
They
know,
say most people know around 8.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think, and maybe it is, maybe it's people know, but then they have
They
that
just
fear
haven't figured
of
it
going
out
to that
yet,
first
or
class to try the
yeah.
drums or whatever it may be. I think it is that just do it mentality of like, just once you're doing it, you're it. Once you start acting, you're an actor. Once
an
you
actor,
start
yeah.
drumming, you're a drummer. Because you
Even
have,
if you're not good, like
you're still a drummer.
still.
You'll get better
Yeah.
if you work at it and if you believe in it. Like, yes, we all have an amount of potential. Some of
Yeah.
us have more than others. For instance, I could probably learn to play drums,
Yeah.
but your 12-year-old self would be like, this fucking guy. Look at this guy. He can't play.
It's interesting to think about it because I haven't played drums in maybe
Yeah, you put the set
couple
away a while ago.
years,
Once it was
yeah.
well, I remember you saying you were putting them away, and it was when you were in the thick of Berkeley, and you were just like, I can't have them. Like,
Yeah.
was it as a distraction?
That's one thing. It's also just having room. It's living in an apartment. It's
Yeah.
just access in general, you know?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So you start playing at 10, and are you consistently taking lessons? It's just like you always took lessons.
Yeah.
Wow.
From then on, my dad basically was like, well, you're going to
Was
take
it
lessons. And
once a week, twice a week?
it was once every month, I think.
Oh, once a month. So
Once a month, yeah.
you had time to like really see. I think that's a good schedule because the first time I took guitar lessons, it was once a week, and I didn't have enough time to absorb everything.
Yeah.
It was too many lessons.
Right.
So when's the first time, like, did you do like any garage bands or anything like that?
Oh, many.
So tell me about those. How does it feel to be in like a garage band?
I'm trying
at
to
that
think
age?
back to middle school. So for middle school, I didn't have any formal bands, but there was people I would like. They would all be like, "Oh, you play the drums? I'm gonna come over and we're gonna hang out and play music," just as we're doing today.
So for me, what I guess I would compare that to is like when I first got my first camcorder and we started
Yeah.
making videos.
Uh-huh.
That feeling of like, oh, we're gonna do this and we're gonna make it. We're gonna, this is gonna take off. It's gonna, and now you look back at that and you're
Yeah.
like, you kids were, one, you were awful.
Uh-huh.
Two, no one wants to see you do what you're doing. It has no commercial value. And three, those personalities would not have lasted
Yeah.
together, right? Do you still talk to any of those guys?
I have a friend. I call him a friend, but I haven't seen him in years. But he, from time to time, will message me on Facebook and be like, "Hey, remember when you taught me drums in middle school?" And then he'll like wish me happy birthday and talk about. And this guy is incredible because he just bought a house in Las Vegas, and what he does is he tours around with bands, and like does photo shoots and is just like their entourage basically.
Right.
I'm assuming. I don't even know.
So, imagine that. Like, he might not be doing what he's doing now had he never sat at your drum set
Yeah.
and cranked away on those drums. So, what I'm gathering, though, is you're, out of the first group of kids that you were playing with, you're the one that's still at it.
Oh yeah.
I'm the same way. A couple of the guys are still going at it. But a lot of the people like I did drama with, no one does it. And it's like, I thought, I was serious about it back at that age.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, 8th, 9th grade. I was like, no, I'm going to be a professional actor.
I did the same thing.
And I don't know if I was saying it out loud, but I knew it in my head. I was writing, plans in my journals of what I wanted to do, how I was going to make it to X, Y, and Z, how I was going to get to LA, whatever. I guess I thought that they all were doing the same thing, when in reality they were just showing up to hang out with people and have fun and put a play on for their parents and their friends. And so when it got time that I was like 24 and I was still at it and people weren't doing it anymore, it was a lonely feeling,
Yeah.
but also a cocky feeling of you know, I needed that extra juice of like, I'm the one that survived, you know,
Yeah.
I'm still standing. I
Yeah.
have this creative power. And now I just look at it as like, oh, we all just made different life choices. But going back to what you're saying, I can still selfishly see the impact of those experiences
Yeah.
on
Well, it's
those
funny you
people.
talked about at 24, you looked back at that because I was doing the same thing at 24. And like, well, if they're not doing music, who do I do music with? Or how do I continue this? Because I want this to continue. I want this. But I was going to school, you know, trying to figure out my life.
Yeah.
And realized, you know what, there is still a world I can live in with music involved.
Right.
And that's where film scoring really came into it.
So you're drumming all through. When's the first time, because you were a drummer doing the garage band thing, I'm sure, well, I don't know. This is the question. What did you originally want to go on tour with a band and be part of this
Oh, yeah.
band? Or did you want to, when did film composing come into play?
It wasn't until my 20s that I realized touring is not for me. Being in a band like that is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have a stable life, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like 25, I want to say, 26, that I realized, oh, I want to look into making music at home. And that's when I realized Berkeley was a possibility.
Right. So you realize that that's it. So real quick, let's just get this out of the way because you know I'm going to ask it. Give me some of your favorite composers, film composers.
Well, so the list that everyone says, you know, John Williams, Hans Zimmer, there's those ones. Bernard Herrmann is on the top of my list.
Great.
John Powell right now is like the man for me right now. If people don't know who he is, he did How to Train Your Dragon movies, which I know it's a kid's movie, but it's epic music. I was thinking back, the movie I watched most on VHS when I was a kid was Back to the Future. I know you love that movie.
Yeah, Alan Silvestri.
Oh yeah, that is probably the quintessential like top music for me of all time.
Everyone that's listening to this in their head is hearing dun dun. You can just hear it.
You can just hear it, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
And it's incredible because that's his second film he's ever done.
That's incredible.
That's incredible.
How do you?
And he was a jazz writer, not even an orchestral writer, and he just wrote that like he was working for 50 years. Like,
Did you see that video that was going around of? It was like on Twitter about a week and a half ago. It's a Spielberg sitting with John Williams, and they're literally humming out the E.T. theme. I'll have to send it to you. It's beautiful because it showed me. I was always curious about how to work with a composer because I've never worked with a composer for any of my stuff. I would just pull like, you know, music off the internet. Yeah, I know. I have you now. Which we have so much to talk about.
Oh yeah,
but,
we do.
yeah, I mean, the idea that he's, like, able to tell John Williams, he's looking at John Williams going, no, go up to, here. He's, like, giving him, he hums the note terribly.
Yeah.
And, like, he's, like, go up there, and, like, you see John Williams, like this, da-da-da-da-da, and then, like, takes it up there. And, like, he was able to, like, keep what he was doing and keep the music theory going, but give Spielberg what he wanted. And I was like, holy shit. Like, that's what I was hoping a film composer does, you know?
Yeah.
Brings their expertise and their artistry while still collaborating.
Yeah.
What an amazing thing, because, I mean, for a while there, people were hating on film scores, like, oh, it's forcing us to cry here or this, that, and
And that's the whole thing was where music is going right now in film is like they want as minimal as possible. They want like 2-3 notes and they want it all digital synthesized
It's a
stuff.
mistake. I'm not that way. Maybe I'm just, you know, too old school or whatever. But I think people need to chill out. If they're like, oh, it was the music that made me cry. Good.
Yeah.
Good. You felt
That's the
something.
point.
That's why you're sitting down at the movie.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy when people come up with these critiques and then people regurgitate the stuff over and over again.
So they think just the moving pictures are supposed to make you feel like everything?
And they can, and maybe the performance will, but if you can enhance that and make the experience otherworldly, then why not?
Right.
Why does everything have to be
so... It's funny because you could go on the same spectrum, so A Quiet Place, look at that movie.
Oh, my
There was
goodness.
like minimal music, there was almost nothing, and it got nominated.
For score?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that Krasinski and the editor, they were working on it with no audio whatsoever to put the pictures together to make sure that it made visual sense.
Yeah.
Now, I love that. From a director's
Yes.
perspective, I love that because movies are supposed to be show, not tell. For a while,
That's also
they're
with
forgetting about that.
Yeah. Also with the music though is you got to have that space in between. You can't just have it all music going all the time. You got to, you know.
Well, and I'm sure we've all seen movies like that where it's like, I don't stop the score. The score has been going on for 42 minutes, like for no reason.
Yeah, a lot of like Bernard Herrmann stuff is only 30 minutes long, and it's for a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. What do you think about? Does it bother you when directors like to use pop songs as their score, like a Tarantino?
No. Let's go back to the Future. That is married with music like no other film has ever been done before. Like,
right.
I can't even think of another movie like that.
Well, like Power of Love is just as much a part of the score as is Silvestri's.
It takes 18 minutes into the movie before you even hear film scoring.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. See, I wouldn't have guessed that. But what? So you don't count the little at the very top of Back to the Future when the credits are going on, that.
Nah, not really.
That's not score? What's defined as score?
Yes.
But you're talking like full on
like his actual music.
2 minutes worth of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I get what you're saying. To me, though, those sounds. I hate calling them sounds. Sounds. Now, let me ask this: is sounds a derogatory word that I'm using? Okay.
Not at all.
Because sounds kind of sounds like, you're just making noises in my head.
Well, film scoring now is all sounds put together.
Right.
Yeah.
So those sounds at the top are to me just as important as and as powerful as when the DeLorean takes off the music.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I'm doing a lot of short films right now, and what the director will ask is, I need this kind of sound here, or I need a simple flourish of sound here, and what does that mean?
Right.
Does that mean it could be anything? So I have to figure that out.
Right. So how do you? Okay, let me save that for later. Let's go back to your story real quick.
Yeah.
So you're in high school. You're doing the band thing. Going to college. You start, and then Berkeley comes along. And you had played a little guitar, played a little piano. You had been collecting instruments and getting computers and this, that, and all the equipment needed to become a musician, composer, etc.
Still got a long ways to go, but yeah.
Sure, we all do, with everything. But I remember when it was like you're piecing it all together. I remember when you got the guitar that you have now. I remember all those things. Now, when you first started the Berkeley program, I mean, I'm sure
I was dazed.
Ecstatic to get in, but I'm sure right after the excitement came, holy shit.
Didn't see people for 2 years, at least.
That's true.
Yeah. I was freaking out because I didn't know music theory, like simple music theory stuff that like all my classmates knew.
Now, I mean, you knew what an eighth note was, I'm sure,
okay,
but what are we talking here? Where did it start getting hairy for you where you're like, I don't know what you're saying?
I didn't know anything with pianos. Nothing.
So, like, you didn't know how to read the music to play?
I didn't know how to read music. I didn't know how to write music. I didn't know, just simple progressions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I'm sure, like, those were classes that you took. Like, they just make you take them.
All of them, yes.
And as you're learning them, what areas did you find that you were, like, taking to like a fish in water, and which ones were, like, tripping you up hardcore?
So I took, stupidly, I took Film Scoring 101, like, the first semester, and why would I do that if I don't know how to write the music yet, I didn't think about it. Yeah. And my teacher was Pinar Toprak, who is currently the Captain Marvel composer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She's the first female composer on a major Marvel movie, on a major...
That's...
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah, and I didn't know who she was at the time at all. Which blows my mind now, because I would have, like, tried to take as much advantage of that as possible. But,
right.
But yeah, that really scared me, because that's what I wanted to do. And I had
Did you have those feelings of doubt, like, oh fuck, maybe I'm not able to do this?
no, because with that, I was also taking a music theory class, and so I would use those techniques that I was learning that same day and use them for that other class, and it really married each other, and they really went together really well.
So you were able to like play catch up while you were in the moment.
And the good thing about going to Berkeley, and I did it online, which is that you meet hundreds of people, and you can talk to them day or night, and your teachers too, so you can, have constant feedback going, and you can figure things out on the fly.
Ask a question at 3
Yeah,
a.m.
so I would stay up all night and just listen to movie scores and then see how they did that, or look up, the sheet music to something and then try to play that and then try to figure out how they did that or why they did that.
There's a level of insanity to wanting to be great at something.
Yep.
To lock yourself away in a room, cut yourself off from your friends and family.
Yeah.
And I've done this. If you added up all the time, it would make me feel sad in a way of how much time I've spent on my craft. But you have to.
That's if you really want to be good.
I mean, oh man, that's the thing that I always wish I could tell people. That I hate making it sound like the work that we're doing is look at what I've sacrificed. It's not that important, but at the same time, I think there's a nobility in it. I'm very
think so too,
honored to be sitting across from somebody that understands what I've put into it, because most people go get a 4-year degree, they come out, they get a job, they work that job 40 hours a week, clock in, clock out, go home and live a life with hobbies.
Yeah.
I don't have hobbies.
No.
I have one hobby, which is my career, that's it. That's all I care about. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
And this is it's all in, like, it's just, this is what I need to spend my time doing for many reasons. One, because it's the most fun that I can have.
Yeah.
2, it's the thing that calms me down, calms my mind, clears it out, and allows me to say, relax, you got something done today. Don't stress, don't feel anxiety.
Oh, that feeling of not getting something done that day, you're like, well, I just wasted a whole day.
Honestly, that's most days
Yeah.
of feeling like, well, this was a day wasted.
I could have done
I
so
didn't
much.
get the edit done that I wanted to get done. I didn't, I didn't make it to that, open mic, whatever it might be. Now, I had this syndrome, I'll call it that, of always feeling like I needed it to catch up. Because, and I've told this story before, I didn't know what a community theater was until I was over the age of 18.
And this is where we have a connection, because I wasn't in the world that I am in now.
Until later, right?
Yeah.
So
late 20s even.
We're the age we are now. I still feel in some ways like I know what my weaknesses are. If you ask me about Shakespeare, I've never been on a stage playing Shakespeare. I don't know what that's like. So that would be something that's an area of acting and performance that I get a little nervous around, or like people who know about miming and clowning. I don't know anything. Or commedia dell'arte, and I'm still confused. Is it dell'arte or dell'art? Oh, dell'arte. Okay, fine, whatever. That's not my thing. But if you want to talk about film acting, I can go all day. If you want to talk about acting and theater, I can go all day. I do have experience in like dancing and singing, so I can kind of talk about musicals, but and what that's like. What are those areas for you?
So that you touched on a lot of things that I was like, oh, that's me. So going to Berkeley online is a whole different experience than actually being there.
Sure.
They get to actually sit in with an orchestra. They get to practice conducting. They get to see how a violin actually works. Whereas I don't have any of that. I have videos that I watch and sound bites that I listen to, but I don't have that kind of experience actually in the room. Working with mixing boards, I took 2 classes on that now. I've never really seen a full board in front of me, you know what I mean? So
they are intimidating.
Very. But not the cool thing, but how music is going now for film is that studios don't even have mixing boards anymore. They don't have any gear. It's all in the box, so it's all in your computer. Computers can do everything, and that's why I have a home studio right now. It's because I can do everything at home.
Now let me ask you this: 2 questions. Do you regret not going to Berkeley?
No.
No. You're solid with your choice. That's
Yes.
wonderful. Wait. So what were the areas that you feel? So working with orchestras, soundboards.
Yeah, just not having the
other live
experience,
instruments.
the live experience. Yeah.
How are you with working with other musicians?
Oh, great! I've done enough of that. Within my time that I'm confident with that.
Yeah, that communication.
Yeah.
Because I would have to imagine as a composer, you're just a director of music.
That's exactly what it is.
Right? So to me, the thing that I tell directors all the time is you have to know how to talk to actors. Therefore, you need to learn how to act. So get your ass in an acting class or an improv class so that you know what the actor's going through.
Yeah.
And so that you can pick up the vocabulary to talk to an actor. You know, the worst thing a director can say to an actor is, hey, can you do that, but just like be happy?
Yeah, so
like, go fuck yourself.
With that, the story I always go back to is Michael Giacchino, Jurassic Park, composer, and J.J. Abrams. Michael Giacchino went to school for film, not for music.
Interesting.
And then J.J. Abrams was a musician, and now tables have turned, and they work together. So they always joke about how they're gonna,
Switch.
Switch.
Yeah. That's funny. So going back to how you said everything's in the computers now.
Yeah.
Now I'm about to do I'm having Jason back on the podcast, and we're going to talk about
Let me know when I'll stop.
Actually, I'd love to have you be a third party on that one. We're going to talk about digital versus film.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a debate that I am passionate about, even though the battle's done.
You're a digital guy all the way, right?
No. I mean, I have to be. I am only because I have to be, because that's what I have access to. I wouldn't be a filmmaker.
That's how I am. So everything is
Right?
done in MIDI right
Yeah.
now, and I am an analog guy all the way.
Okay, that's amazing. So to me, those big soundboards that we say are intimidating are still, that's a better tool because there's that human touch involved.
Oh yeah.
I think having lack of human touch,
It's
you can
even just
feel it, you can
playing the
hear
music
it. Exactly.
on an actual instrument.
Right.
Is even
Well, like for instance, I'm sure you've banged out a bunch. Well, you talked about there's a French horn or an oboe. Would you say it was
Oboe.
There's an oboe on the theme music.
Yeah,
that you
so
put
I
together.
wanted to go back into the project and for your theme music,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to change the oboe to I wanted to try an English horn, and which is just a smoother sound. It sounds it's a little better, and the project just wouldn't open. I was getting upset because I had to come here and do this, and
This wouldn't have happened in the analog days. Another problem would have happened, I'm sure, but
something would have happened.
something would have happened.
Yeah.
But that specific problem.
But yeah, I
is,
just couldn't open the project, and
ridiculous.
that's something that a lot of composers are dealing with right now is that they don't have, something breaks on the day, and they're like, oh, got to fix this now, got to work on this. When if you're doing live stuff, it just wouldn't happen that way.
Wouldn't happen that way.
But the beauty is that a lot of the times we're just doing the mock-ups, and then later they go and record the real stuff.
Right. So, I personally, and I don't know if I just have an ear for it because I've spent time recording a lot of different audio and because I play instruments, but there's a lot of times when I'll hear an electronic version of an instrument that you can feel the musician pressing the keys on the keyboard.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh my God, does that make me mad?
Makes you mad.
Yeah. Because, and it's not their fault,
Mm-hmm.
but would it be better with a live saxophone? Yeah.
So there's an artist named Oliver Arnold. He makes electronic style. I'm trying to see how to reference it, but basically he makes this lush orchestral sound, but he uses just pianos and strings, and you hear every push of the piano key, and it sounds amazing. And
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Me and Felice just went and saw him actually at the Orpheum Theater, and it was like a meditative experience.
So let me stay on that topic. There's less and less funding in schools for music, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's less and less pay for musicians to be professional musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's going to become more and more rare to find a live oboe player, like to be able to come into a studio Is that going to be something that's going to disappear?
That's a hard debate. I think
We're not going to run out of guitar players or piano players,
no,
but I'm talking about those rare instruments.
And we might, and it might just all end up in the box. As I said, you buy this sample of music and play it and record it, and that's it. And let's be honest, that's how I did your music. Mm-hmm. So, I mean...
Yep. Okay, so then that's my next question is how do you get it to sound real? Because yours sounds real. That's a big compliment for you because... That's
just the beauty of the stuff I bought. It already sounds like that.
It sounds real.
I didn't do anything to it. I just put it together.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah. That's why I was trying to fix it before I came over to make it sound even better. But
it sounds great now. It doesn't sound like... And maybe it's just because your technique is also good at how you... and you probably have a really good ear for...
I've had 4 years of just doing that for school projects, one project a week.
I mean, if I did it would sound like... and it'd be like, oh, somebody played that on a keyboard.
You just play it on pitch, you're fine. It does it for you. Come on.
So, okay, all right. So, I'm going to keep doing this compare and contrast situation between acting and
do what you know.
Music. For actors, it's harder and harder to have a paying career. Mm-hmm. I would have to assume, going back from the seed of this was Napster came out and kind of demolished the music industry. Does it look as bleak from your side?
So, from my side, basically what we have going on is there used to be the old Hollywood where a studio would hire, a composer and he would do all their stuff. Mm-hmm. And there was an orchestra that they hired and they would do all their stuff. And then it started, dwindling and then it just became individual random, stuff. And unless you're in the union, you don't get, pay, you don't get those jobs. And that's something that I need to get into. I need to get into some union so that I can start getting the jobs, working in, the field that
how does one get in? With acting, there's like 3 ways to get into the union.
Yeah, well...
They're all pretty difficult.
The musicians' union is you just pay.
Is it ridiculous?
No, it's not too bad.
It's
like I need to do that.
$3,000 for
it's not even that bad.
No, okay.
No, but there's, 600 people who are going for one job. So that's kind of...
Well, and that's what I say to actors all the time. It could be a 3-line co-star on Criminal Minds, and 3,000 actors are submitted every day for that role. Uh-huh. How do you get...
So basically, you got to find someone to work with them. That's how I see it, is that in this day and age, if you don't make your own stuff, it's harder and harder to be seen.
You sound exactly like me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we work in the same industry.
Yeah, and it's this is, I don't mean this competitively. Do you think it's harder to be a working composer or a working actor? I feel like it's harder to be a working composer.
I would say composer. It's like everyone...
Because I can get people to click on
So when you say you're an actor, no one goes, oh, how do you get into that? That's the number one question I get. Is, oh, how do you find jobs in that? Or how do you get into that?
So my next question is, how do you get into composer?
Which you just...
So by making your own stuff, SoundCloud, that's got to be a big deal, right?
Yeah, it's more finding a director that needs you, or
connecting with film directors.
It's who you know. That's the age old saying.
So with there being, because I mean, again, we just named, I maybe I'm different that I pay attention because I'm such a film nerd. I pay attention to the composer. How many do you think? I mean, I think a lot of people know who John Williams is. I'm talking normal people, not
less and
Hollywood
less people
folks.
these days are knowing who John Williams is. I'll be honest.
People consume media so much differently. Back in the days when it was like the glory days of cinema, people cared. It's like, that's Alfred Hitchcock's movie starring Cary Grant.
Yes.
The screenwriter was X, Y, and Z. People cared about that. And now it's like they just watch it and it either sucks or it doesn't. It either catches fire on Twitter or it doesn't, kind of thing. And I hate that.
My coworkers right now, because I work at CPK right now, just because, composer's not going to, save my life right now. So my coworkers were like, oh, so which composer do you like? And then they name the ones that they know. They only say John Williams, Hans Zimmer, That's basically it. Like, and right now, Hans Zimmer is the top. He is the top right now.
Right.
And it's just hard to find the jobs when people like that are,
Do you think people know Hans Zimmer because of that stupid sound?
No. So he actually does really well for the industry right now. Age Old Hollywood had, these composers.
And I'm not saying that represents him.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's
just
what
how
people recognize him for. Like, if I say Brad Pitt, you're probably going to say Fight Club.
Fight Club, yeah.
I think Hans Zimmer, and that noise pops in my head. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to do it. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So his whole thing is that he has built a studio of composers under his belt. Now, my problem with it is that he may have put his name on stuff that he hasn't done work on. Right. Or that he's done very minimal work on, but that's a whole different topic we could talk about.
Well, he's almost built a factory,
but that's it. But he's
Ford
also getting composers' jobs.
That's
the other side of it. That's how Pinar Toprak, who I mentioned earlier, that's how she got into it, because she worked under him.
Yeah.
And she did some stuff for him. I think she did some stuff on Wonder Woman even. So it's
incredible.
Yeah, it's just it's who you know. It's really bizarre kind of industry, but people do it, and you and I are trying,
Yeah, I mean, it's a ongoing effort, not only to get better, but then also to get in. Well, not only to get better at your craft, but also to figure out what is going to make your craft stand out, what makes it special.
Also, it's what level do you want to be at? Do you care if you're known by someone walking down the street, or do you
Yeah, that's a great point too.
Yeah.
For me, at the very minimum, I would love to, if to me it would be a huge success to make just $60,000 a year from just acting.
If I could buy a house and just survive on that.
Exactly.
That's all I need.
That's it. I don't need to be rich and famous. I don't need that. I just want to be able to.
My whole goal is I want to make music every day.
That's it.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about, because I just had that thought the other day of I'm having so much fun making these videos and writing my screenplays and making these podcasts and going to these classes and doing plays, whatever it may be. I do all kinds of stuff. If all that was paying me enough money to where I didn't have to, sling coffee, it would be the best.
Yeah.
I'd be fine. I would still dream of more, but I'd be fine with that. I think about all the time, what if somebody said, no more acting. You don't get to do any more ever.
Oof.
I don't know that I want to be here anymore. That's a sad thing to say out loud, but this is who I am. Again, to talk about all the time we took in those rooms
your whole
by
identity,
yourselves. Yeah. It's who I made myself. I was just a snot-nosed kid in a room clanking away, typing up scripts and watching movies and reading acting books. And then I started auditioning, and I started doing plays, and then I started making my own movies, and eventually, again, it's my hobby, it's my career, it's how I have my friends, it's how people identify me. Stephen Bailey, actor.
Yeah.
They don't go Stephen Bailey, construction worker or something, whatever it may be, I don't know. But Greg, musician. Yeah. That's it. That's your identity. So to have your identity taken away, I don't know.
It's rough. Yeah.
It'd be rough.
It would be rough.
And go work.
And that's what I was doing before. I was like, I can't. I was going to go into accounting. No thanks.
Did you study?
I studied it. I was good at it. It was fine, but
right.
It's not what would have made me happy.
How long did you pull away from music?
I was still always playing music, but
you've never taken a break?
Mm-mm.
Interesting.
No. Not really.
I only took, I would say, 2 breaks my entire life. They're very short.
Yeah.
And one of the breaks isn't really... Actually, it's pretty much just one break. It just happened over the course of a few months, over the course of a year. But in that time, I was still, teaching ballroom dance and things like that. And I was still, watching movies and reading about acting and doing exercises.
Because it's your hobby, yeah.
Yeah, so, But I went a year without doing a play or making anything back then. And granted, I was 21, figuring it all out.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's like it's when your whole life is wrapped up in it, and then you're looking at these industries that are not keeping up with the changing times, and with the changing times, people are, in a lot of ways, disrespecting these art forms by treating them all as equivalent to social media content. That kind of hurts my heart, and I'm trying to, I guess part of my mission statement, I want to know what you feel about this, is to ignite people into loving the arts again, and to bring some fucking poetry back into the shit, and bring some heightening back into it, back to all art forms. I mean, you know, if you think about, you know, Da Vinci, you know, painting and creating and that sounds so romantic to me.
It really does.
And the respect that he was given, and the respect that we still give those works. I wish that could be sort of, I'm just rambling here. Scorsese's big on this about like, he says cinema is dying because what we're doing isn't cinema.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
I don't know if you know what's going on right now with Steven Spielberg and the whole Netflix thing.
Well, no, I saw the headline. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so basically he's like, I don't think Netflix should be a contender for any Oscars or awards, and it's because movies were meant to be seen in theaters, and they should be worldwide, in theater.
Well, who says... Hold on. I love Spielberg, but who says that they were supposed to be in theaters? They were shown in theaters because that's the way to make a dollar.
I'm probably misrepresenting his quote, but...
No, but I know what you're saying because he said this stuff before.
Yeah, and so Netflix, they wrote a statement on, I think, Twitter, obviously, because, you know, everyone does.
Yeah.
And what they were saying was that not everyone has access to going to the movies, or not everyone has, you know...
$15 to plunk down.
Yeah, the means to see that. So, you know, giving them the opportunity to do it that way...
And
while
that
having a limited release in
dying.
theaters, just so they could, you know...
Be qualified for the Oscars, yeah.
And they believe in it just as much as, you know, he might, but maybe they don't. Who knows?
And I'm so guilty of this. I'm a hypocrite, because I love the movie theater, but I have a catch-22 here. I'm not going, because I'm too busy, one, making stuff, and two, it's expensive, but two... the movies that these studios are greenlighting are not good.
They're not.
The best stuff that's coming out is on Netflix.
Yeah.
And yes, there's tentpole directors like Spielberg who makes Ready Player One. I get my ass into the theater 3 times. Scorsese drops a movie. I don't think. What if Scorsese was like, I'm dropping a movie. I'm dropping The Irishman. It's gonna drop on. But I've only missed 2 of his movies since I've been alive in theaters. Like, I go. Here's some behind-the-scenes trivia for a quick intermission. I had to take a break because my wife Shannon brought home Barney at this time, and he was going bananas because he had just gotten his hair cut. And now back to the show. So, you're saying, when you went to Europe, did you go, were they mostly Catholic churches that you were going to?
We didn't go to a lot, but like, we went to Notre Dame. I can't even say it.
Notre Dame?
Yeah, that. There you go.
It would be hard for me
that
to
doesn't belong.
That's in Paris, right?
Yeah.
It would be hard for me to go there and
stayed
not
by
say
there, and it was that is probably my most favorite architectural building ever. We didn't go up to the bells, but next time we go, I want to
see if Quasimodo's up there.
For sure.
Yeah. Which countries did you guys go
to? So countries or places?
Places.
Because
with sounds.
I'm not the best with the countries when it comes to Europe, but so we went to Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. Whatever country you want to call that.
Did you guys partake in Amsterdam?
I did. Definitely a lot more than she did. She wussed out.
Why? She was on vacation.
Edibles are not her thing, and you got to be careful there because it's a lot more than you think.
Potent, you're saying?
Yes.
They didn't have like just places to.
They did. She didn't trust that there was going to be like tobacco in her thing, so yeah. It was hilarious because the place we stayed at was right across from the most popular one in all of Amsterdam. and
She's
just
gonna be
like,
so pissed when she hears this.
oh, I'm sure.
Felice, I love you. I really want to go. So Amsterdam, Paris.
Amsterdam, Paris. We went to Belgium, which was pretty fun. It was like I would say the laid back portion of the trip.
Okay.
Because there wasn't like, it's not like the place you need to go to, but
Right.
it's a good place. Beautiful, you know, but it's Belgium.
I really want to go. We've been talking about it.
I think everyone in their lifetime needs to travel to as many places as possible.
I agree. That's
And
a big philosophy.
That's
of
a
ours.
big goal of mine, to get more traveling in, even just in the States.
Where are the places that you haven't gone that you want to?
Oh.
Let's divide that up too. Because what are the places in the United States that you haven't gone that you're like?
I haven't been to Tennessee, you know, Nashville, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Just Seattle I haven't been to, and I've been close to it, but I haven't been there. I've been to Oregon, but I haven't been to like Portland.
Right.
You know, the big places like that. Like I haven't been to Austin. I've been to, you know, New York and New Mexico. But like,
It's funny that all the three places that you named are all like these musically iconic cities, and yeah, those are all, you know, and it's silly not to take the road trip straight up from L.A. to Portland and.
Well, living in California, every summer I would take road trips up north with my friends, and so I know all of, you know, California.
Right.
But, you know.
I still know very little of California.
Oh, we need to do like road tripping, like serious road tripping.
Well, we should do the one straight up to Washington and back, because I want to do that. And then I told you
Canada,
that.
you know.
And I've never been to Canada, which is so stupid, because I lived. Shannon makes fun of me all the time. It was like a 4-hour or 5-hour drive from where I was in Indiana to New York. I never went. It was like 5 hours straight north to go to Canada. Never went.
Times,
I just never did any of that stuff. I don't know why. I think I was just too.
Well, that's like I live 3
scared.
hours from Mexico. I've never been there.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the closest one to us? Tijuana?
Yeah. If you want.
That's kind of crazy though.
Yeah.
Like, but all right. All right. So back to and the countries. Which countries did you not travel yet that you want to? Like, what are your top 3?
Well, we wanted to go to Denmark. We wanted to go I want to go to Australia for sure. I mean, I'm hearing Taylor talk all about it, and and Brian Preto, who's been there, has talked about it. You know, China, Japan, like these places, like.
Japan's high on my list.
Yeah.
I would say
Canada. I mean, we just talked about it.
Canada feels so much like our area that it's like.
I was at work the other day and I met this guy, and he was getting food because he's like, yeah, I'm here from Canada, and and he's like, they talk about us being nice, but you guys are so much nicer than we are. I was like,
no, I disagree.
Nah, it's bullshit.
Out of all the traveling I've done, I come home every time like, Americans are very rude.
Yeah.
Very rude, inconsiderate, distracted.
They say that about French people, right?
Yeah,
and
did
we
you
went to
experience
Paris.
that?
Not really. No.
Yeah, the whole that's kind of like the cliche criticism is like they're snooty.
Yeah. Like, so I think what helped was that Felice knows a little bit of French, and then she tried to talk to them in as much as she could in French, and then they're like, oh, American, and then they would speak English to you, which they're like, well, you tried, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's what everyone that I've talked to says is there's a respect, and that's what I gathered too, is like it's like they go, oh, that's cute, you're trying, that's very endearing, you've been vulnerable in front of me, because you know that you can't speak.
Where are you from? No.
Yeah. Speak English. You speak English? Yeah, like that's just, see, that's what I think of Americans as. Like, is that sort of like, we are the boss, we are, you know, whatever, and it's just like, ugh.
We're not Bruce Springsteen, but we're the boss.
We are the boss. Bruce Springsteen. Okay, so let's get back to music. The thing I haven't asked you yet, I asked you your favorite composers. I haven't asked you your favorite, like, musicians as far as, like, pop music goes. And if you want to break this down, I'm big on lists.
I hate talking about this because it sounds very conceited, because my favorite artists have the same name as me.
Okay.
So there's Greg Holden.
Okay.
He plays, like, Americana pop music, a lot of acoustic guitar stuff. There's Greg Laswell, who plays a lot of the same style music, but it's a little more downbeat, I would say, like slower piano stuff.
Okay.
It's kind of depressing, but it's what he does, and I love it.
That's okay.
Then there's just like, I like all kinds of stuff. Like there's no, I love jazz music, you know.
Okay. Who are your favorite jazzies?
Well, Thelonious Monk I've been getting into hard right now. 'Cause I want to play piano like so bad, and trying to play his stuff is just like, oh, I'm gonna give up. I'm just gonna give up. But like, you know, Miles Davis, all those types I just love. But
Right.
I grew up on like Disney music
Mm-hmm.
as a 90s kid, and living in that era, like a lot of what got me into music was like Alan Menken stuff. So that type of, you know, fun piano pop kind of stuff is really what I love. But
So if you're just like, out, maybe on a walk or so, or no, you're in the car
mhm.
and you're just, driving around doing.
Oh, did Stephen Bailey post? Oh, podcast. Sweet.
So you're big on the podcast.
Yeah, it's not like I want to inundate myself with music 24/7.
Oh, I understand that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really do. But to me, I notice that if I'm feeling like I feel depressed, maybe I
I'll
should
put
try
Fleetwood
music.
Mac on for sure.
Fleetwood Mac?
Oh yeah, that's my favorite band of all time, Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Favorite Fleetwood song?
You Can Go Your Own Way, whatever that's called. I don't even know the title, but yeah.
That's the name of the movie me and Jason are writing, and we're gonna try to get the rights to that song.
That's right. I did see your post on that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, hi, hit me up. I'll do the music.
That is what we were going to talk about. So what the movie is, it's going to be a lot of fun, but I definitely want you to compose that. Now, if you composed a feature, I would have to imagine that would be a great thing for what's the word I'm looking for? Me as an actor, I can do a million short films, but that's not gonna matter as much as doing a feature film. 20 short films does not equal one feature film.
Right.
A feature film is something completely way more important. It's like you could be the mayor of a town over 20 towns, or you can be the president of the United States. That's to me what the difference feels like.
Right.
Is it that way to you as a composer?
That's what I love about the industry, though, is like from a director to the composer to the DP. It doesn't matter who it is.
Mm-hmm.
They all are working together to create this one thing, and so it's not very. Your medium might be different, but you're basically working all on the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
and you're
sure.
just at different stages in the production. So
yeah, what I would love to try too is just getting some music together, because I like to film while music is playing.
And that's what there's directors out there who will like, okay, so this is the idea here. Either is the script or just the basic breakdown of what I want.
Yeah.
Or what the movie is, and then they'll work the whole time with them on music.
Well, I think, Jason's gonna direct it, and I'm gonna act in it and produce it, and we're co-writing it, and we're gonna edit it together. Blah blah blah. But him being the director, as his producer, I'm telling him, look, here's the things that I need you to do so that we can be on the same page and know exactly what movie we're making. And I hadn't thought about it before this conversation that we're having now, but I think this would be an amazing thing for a director to start developing early, so that, especially with this being his first feature, so that he's going into it with as much of the movie made as possible before actually rolling camera. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, yeah.
And when it's time for me to direct my first feature, I'll probably do the same thing, because I would just have to imagine, going into it, it helps you communicate to your actors, helps you communicate to your DP. Look, this is the tempo of the movie, this is the tone of the movie, this is, the way this scene's gonna feel. Here, let me make you feel in life.
That's the whole thing with working inside the box now, and why it became that way musically for film, is because you can make a whole mock-up, as they call it the mock-up, where you produce what will be the music for the movie,
Right.
just not recorded in the same right, so that they can get the feel, they can get exactly what they can see what you wrote and what it's going to be when they actually record it live.
I can't remember who I was listening to, but they were saying that you shouldn't use temp tracks. I think it might have been Chris Nolan.
That's a lot of them now say that.
That they're
But
not
I
doing that because then the composer will come back with something that is either too much like what the temp track was, and they used a temp track from like Jurassic Park, and they're like, no, I didn't want Jurassic Park. I wanted you to create something original, but just... So they're like, no, just create something, and we'll feel it out.
That's very Chris Nolan. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, if you listen to Batman or if...
Well, nothing feels like his scores.
Exactly. And that's
Even
the
though,
thing.
you know, that composer has done...
Yeah. But the
100
beauty
things.
with Chris Nolan is he'll sit for 6 hours with Hans Zimmer in the studio
Right.
and work on the music together.
Wouldn't you love to
in
be a
that
fly on the
fiction.
wall for that? Is there any video of that?
Oh, there's tons of it, I'm sure.
I'll have to look that up.
But I know there's a lot of Hans Zimmer stuff, but I don't know about Chris Nolan Zimmer stuff.
So, you did the Hans Zimmer masterclass thing.
I did, yeah.
Did you learn anything from that?
Did I learn?
Or was it just
I
fun
learned
to,
his
like,
I learned
hear
his
his process?
I learned his process.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you took from it that you're like, oh, I'll start doing that?
There's some stuff, but not really, if I'm honest.
Right.
It's basically just like from my standpoint, I don't have the experience of a professional setting as far as, you know,
His crazy studio.
yeah, that kind of.
He's got a beautiful studio.
He's got a beautiful studio that he's been building since the 80s, so he's got all kinds of crap in there. And to see him, how he would, you know, go do his thing is just not where I'm at yet.
So tell me, as much as you can, about what your process is as far as like, okay, let's just say I'm the director of the film that you're composing.
Yes.
I send you over the film. There's no music on it. It's a rough cut. It still needs tightening. It's got some sound effects maybe, a little bit of sound mixing done. No music whatsoever.
A lot of the time, it'll be cut up into the scenes only.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
They just send you the scene.
I've had that happen a lot, yeah.
I don't think I would do that as a director. I would
Please
send you
don't.
the full thing. I think that's stupid because
Yes.
I want you to see the entirety of the film.
Yep.
And then I want you to go back and help
Right.
with music. I don't want you to
It
watch
depends
something out of
how the
context.
director actually works, because I've worked with directors where they tell me specifically I need this kind of sound or I need this kind of feel, and
Do they
maybe
send you
with
examples?
this they send, so in the clip they have written comments. Right here, do this. Right here, something. He literally, I've seen one where it just says something here, and I'm like,
What the hell does that mean?
yeah.
Just one note.
And then I had to ask him, do you want music throughout the whole scene? Do you want music just... Because he wrote a whole thing on top that went through the whole scene, and it said, you know, this kind of feel, this intense, creepy feel to it. And then I had to ask him, well, do you want it throughout the whole thing? Or just when it says something here, something here, something here?
Right.
And it was very confusing. But it worked out, and it...
But that's the thing with a lot of directors that I've noticed. Like, directing is not easy, and I'm still learning. I've directed quite a number of things.
It's also time constraints, too, though. Like, to get things to someone else so they can work on it.
The most important thing is communication.
Yes.
And a lot of directors can't communicate.
They're
That's
very
what I'm
polar
saying.
on it,
Is they...
That's what I've noticed, is that they have a vision in their head. They have a vision... Maybe they've written down. They don't even have it in their head. They just wrote it down somewhere.
Or maybe they're just
Go
like...
back to it.
I feel like most directors are like bullshitting and just
On the
riffing
fly.
on the fly. And it's like, well, we can feel that in your film.
You can
Just
see
so
that.
you know.
And that's what makes a good film from a not good film, is if you have the actual vision for what you want to start, and you build it throughout. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So I send you... So let's go back to your process. I
Yeah.
send you the rough cut,
Yes.
and I say to you, okay, so Greg, this is it's a short 3-minute horror film. I need composition from second one to fading out,
I would
closing
love to do
credits. I actually do have this coming up.
Cool.
And I could say I want it to be eerie and ominous. Is that enough? What is it that what does
Well, the problem is that I can present you with, this is what I depict as eerie and ominous for your film. Is this the tone that you wanted? Is this the feel that you were going for? Is this too much? Is this too little? There's a lot of questions, and that's why sitting down with the director and having the project in front of us and actually going over, and taking notes and figuring out, okay, here maybe this, and then maybe I can suggest something to you.
To me, I think the way that I would want to work is, and tell me if this is too crazy. Like, to me, I would say, here's what I want, da-da-da, time codes. I kind of love the idea of letting you, because a director would learn two things.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of you taking the movie and making what you think the music should be shows me how the movie's being perceived by someone that's not me.
Right.
Because so many times I make things, it's the same way about me going through life. Like, I walk around thinking I make people feel exactly.
Yeah.
I think I make people feel a certain way, and then you find out, like, no, they thought you were being an asshole the whole time. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. I thought I was being silly and polite the whole time, and I thought I was being reserved or whatever. It's the same thing with filmmaking. Like, I'll think that something's funny or communicating the thesis or whatever it might be the right way, and then come to find out people didn't get any of it, or they thought it was too crass or too, whatever. I love other people's opinions so much. The more I do this, the more I realize, I just want to be in service of other people's enjoyment.
I think so. That's twofold for the industry, I think, of making a film for me, because yes, you want to give someone what they want, and please people and make them feel certain ways that they want to feel. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think having your perspective on a situation, because there's so much out there, there's so much stuff out there, you don't want it all to be exactly the same.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, and the more we collaborate, the more we can mix that Rubik's Cube up.
And that's why someone like Chris Nolan is great, because he has his view, and he knows what he wants, and he goes in and he tries it as best as he can.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, like, if you came back with a score that I wouldn't have notes. I absolutely would. I'd be like, I wish that, and I guarantee you this would probably happen, I wish the piano was more of a full, warm
and that's
sound,
something that
I
like to hear, though, because I want to know that I'm doing what you...
But I wonder how many, like, because I've spent time with music and things like that, I'm sure there's tons of directors that they couldn't play a D chord on a guitar.
No.
They couldn't tell you how many notes are in a scale. They can't tell you any of that stuff, so they're not going to know how to communicate that to you. Going back to what we talked about with directors talking to actors, they probably don't know what to say to you. They're just like, please, I hope that you're able to give me something that is... they probably don't even have anything in their head.
No.
I kind of hear music when I know what fits.
Yeah.
There's something very fun to me about going through a catalog of scores and plugging them into or just playing them. I know if I plug that, I don't even have to try plugging it in and watching it with the music. So I can hear it, know
almost like
it's
a temp
right.
track kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just drop them in and I go, yep, it worked. I can always just feel it. I know it when I hear it if it's going to work or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have settled a lot because I haven't gotten to work with a composer, so I'm very excited to do that with you.
It's also like you have specifics, maybe you have spots in the film where you want to hit here, and do this and that, and you can't really do that because you just set a music in there.
Yeah. It's a fun process, like, of making films, but
something
it's so
I liked
hard.
when I took film scoring was adding, like, something I didn't create, like a pop song or whatever, and put it into the scene and making it fit around the music that I wrote, or going from, like, a fade into that song to fade out to my music, or, fade in.
Sure.
And
have you been so bold as to say, if you cut this and this to do this, we could do this with the music?
I haven't done that yet. I haven't got there yet, but...
I would love that ballsiness of being like, what if you did, like, a quick jump cut here to make the music pop? Like, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Like, if you can get those flourishes.
That's why I want to work with people who, I can actually communicate with and work with. And,
Well, it's going to be fun. The projects that I have, and knowing that, like, it's nice now that you're done with school because we can actually work together. And that's probably one of the main reasons I didn't bring you anything, is because I felt your plate was full. That's what it appeared like from the outside.
Well, and the problem is, like, I wrote the music to your theme. I was looking back today in November. November, and that's how long it took me to get here. Like,
It's not just it's not you though. It's also me. Like in November, that's when I started doing Our Town, and
yeah,
I've been going really hard at creating as many things as I can, pumping out videos and everything else that I've been doing. So it's gonna be fun though. Now it's like I think we're both in a really cool place where now we can start our artistry relationship, and start. Because the
building
more
ourselves
people
up,
I
yeah.
have to help me, the more I can generate work for other people. Like,
Yes.
I consider myself not responsible for other people, but I love helping other people
Yeah.
out. Like, there's the girl I did Our Town with, Gabby Segrist, I'll just call her out. She and I had great chemistry in the play, and so I'm like, you know what? She's brand new to LA. Like, Keanu, and I'm like, we have the chemistry. She's got she's a nice person, and she's also very, very talented. I'm like, just let me help you. I'll make you SAG eligible. I'll put you in these other things that I think you're perfect for, that if you help me, I can help you. And I love that. I love having that opportunity to help other people by having them help me, because I get to live my dream and give other people their dream. And because I've been blessed and fortunate enough to maybe have equipment at my disposal, or have the know-how or the talent to write and direct and whatever it is, I'm patting myself on the back a lot. But what I'm not trying to. What I'm trying to say is, like, I do have these blessings, I guess you could call them, to be able to create whatever I want, sort of whenever I want. But the problem that I was running into was I just didn't have the people to do the things. And now I feel like it's all kind of coming together.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like everyone's kind of ready, and as well as I'm ready. Like, it's funny how time works out that way.
So I have a question.
Hit me.
Going back to the plays you just mentioned that you were in, your last two, when I saw the productions, there was music going on.
Yes.
So the last one, there was James Horner music playing, and I immediately was like, oh, James Horner. They're playing James Horner right now. This is amazing. Do you know, like, how all that comes together and who puts that together? The music, is that the director?
The director. So Stan Brown directed Our Town.
Okay.
Is that the one you heard?
That was the James
Horner?
Horner's one, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Like there was Oh Brother, We're Out There on the other one.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Inside Llewyn Davis
Yes,
as well.
Inside Llewyn Davis, that's what it was, yeah.
The Rainmaker, we wanted that very folksy kind of Dust Bowl feeling. And so, like, with the Rainmaker, I put my 2 cents in. With Our Town, I didn't. I had too much on my plate. But yeah, it was just the director picking out songs, interstitial music, and he just hands it over to the tech booth, and they just put it into the board, and it goes cue to cue, plays the music on cue, fades it, it's all pre-programmed. But yeah, it's just the director just picking out what he wants tonally. I don't know how he came upon that. I would love to talk to him about that.
It fit perfectly for the scene that it was in.
Right.
And for me, it's funny because I'm like, I was just listening to that in my car, and now I'm listening to it here, watching my friend on stage.
Well, isn't it funny too that we don't think that we're going to hear music that we know when we go see a play, especially when it's a play that takes place in 1905, and it was written in 1946, I believe.
Because in my head, I'm not really a huge, like, I wouldn't call it regional theater, but community theater aficionado, per se, but to know, I just think of music as, there's just music that everyone has that uses it when they do this play, like there's one piece of music and it goes for that play.
Well, I think the beauty of that, the reason it's changed is because music is so easily accessible to not only download and take from place to place, but easier to play.
Was there an actual, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Where they had, like, this was our town's music.
Oh, no. Show. Oh, I see. Yes. So, like, some plays do have.
So, like, the Rainmaker
scores.
had its own music, and then they chose not to use it.
Right. Some plays do. Some plays, like, I think the Glass Menagerie has exact music that must be played. Because there's a theme song that got written.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, if you take a movie and then make it to a play, that's different.
Yeah, yeah. With the Glass Menagerie though, that was even on Broadway. Like they had a theme, and in the back of the play, it's like, okay, so in order to get the copy of this, because they back in the days of like, let's say cassettes, right? Mm-hmm. So you're doing, let's say you're going to perform Glass Menagerie. In the back of the script, it's like, to order your cassette, send a $20 check to 5892 P.O. Box, whatever.
Yes.
Today it's like, go download this song off iTunes, whatever, and then you can play it through your board. I don't know all the laws about what's illegal and what's not, but
I could tell
I've
you all
done
the laws,
so many of these plays where people are playing other people's music, going back to, back in the day. These songs are being played, these pop tunes, and they set the scene so well, and it's accessible to me, or it makes my character and the play accessible, because as an actor, I listen to music. I make soundtracks for my characters, and I listen to certain songs before I go into certain scenes. So it doesn't make any sense, because it was 1904 and there wasn't even an automobile in the town of our town, of Grover's Corners in our town. But the song that I chose for George and Emily was Thunder Road by Bruce Springsteen, because it's all about wanting to get out and wanting to have this girl that he's been flirting with, and this is in the song, screen door slams, Mary's dress waves, and then he's asking her to get in his car at the end and leave this town full of losers.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was perfect for George and Emily, also because in the play, Emily is said to be like kind of just a normal-looking girl. She's not a beauty. And there's a line in Thunder Road, "You're not a beauty, but hey, you're all right." So I was like, okay, that's my song. So that's how I put that together. And regardless of what the lyrics are, take all that away. It was also just the feeling of the music made me feel the way that I imagined George felt. So when I play that music, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's what a director should be getting at when they pick music for their plays, but some of them do not.
Nope. Some literally just play to the scene, and it's just hard sometimes.
So let's go back to Berkeley for 1 second. Well, first of all, what was your favorite class? Did I ask you that? We asked what the ones you tripped.
Oh, music theory. I took 4 of them. 4 music theory classes. My favorite.
The
hardest classes I've ever taken.
Let's go to music theory 4, whatever that class was called.
Music theory 4.
How hard was that shit?
It was.
Give me some examples.
Well, by the time I got there, it wasn't nearly as hard as when I started.
Oh, so 2 might have been the hardest.
2 actually was the hardest for me.
I would imagine, because
I took that twice.
To get complex.
Yep, took that one twice. Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
one of the teachers I had, I forget his name, but he had a play on Broadway, I believe, and he was the hardest teacher I've ever had.
Wow.
But I thank him every day for that.
Right.
Because I wouldn't be, doing what I'm doing now.
The ones that we hate in the moment are the ones we look back on and go, I'm glad he kicked my ass.
Oh,
because now I'm the shit, and it's because of him.
Yep. Yep.
This whole soft teaching thing is nonsense to me. Now, I'm not saying scream at your students, but
it's not
what I am
whiplash
saying is
level,
but hold people to a high standard.
Yeah.
Don't make them feel like shit if they don't reach it, but let them know,
and that's
this is what I expect.
That's how my teachers were, but also, my teachers were also people who were actively working in the industry. So
there you go.
Yeah. So they, I'm gonna take. They might see it as a side job, or they might see it as a second job, or they might see it as
volunteer work.
I don't know.
Whatever it might be, whatever they're.
But or this is what I'm doing right now until I do this or that. So it's just,
It's very cool, though, and that's, I say that all the time to people who are like, should I go to film school, should I go to theater school? I always say, well, first of all, you're going to get a great network out of it, which is very important, and hopefully you find a mentor that sticks with you throughout your career, or at least a teacher that you could always reach back out to, and hopefully there's a teacher with experience, because, I had teachers that, had only done, community theater when I was in college. These are college professors. They'd only done community theater, got through, enough credits to become a professor, and that's it. That's all they could do was tell me about those. So they can't tell me what it's like to be on Broadway. They can't tell me what it's like to be on a TV set as a co-star or as a guest star. They can't tell me any of that stuff. So therefore, you can only once the class is done, you can't ask them for any other advice because you're now surpassing them. You're taking the little nugget of knowledge that they can give you, and then now they're done. So like for you to be going to Berkeley and to be working with real composers that are in the industry, huge, because it's huge because it's they're not selling you a bill of goods. It's not snake oil salesman. It's the real deal. Like, it's not somebody that's guessing. Like, here, I'm teaching you this because I've heard through the grapevine that this is what it's like.
Yeah.
It's like, no. You don't know what it's like to be in... Like, I've had so many people try to tell me what the industry is. And it's like, you're not in the industry. You don't know. Mm-hmm. You don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me.
I just recently went to an alumni event for Berkeley. It was at the Skirball Center. And that's exactly what they were talking about, is that this is, I was meeting a bunch of people I'd never met because I didn't go to the school.
Right.
And I was like the only online student there. And
how, but I'm glad you did go though, because...
Yeah, I met this guy who does his own podcast, and he was really nice to me, and I met this other girl who goes to UCLA right now, getting her master's degree, and she was really nice and gave me her information, and I met like all these people, and
that's it, dude.
And knowing the experience that they have and what they do, and like all their knowledge that they can give to me is great.
Anything that you don't know that they have access to is power.
Yeah,
knowledge is power.
So
let me see here. You know what? I wanted to talk to you about this. I turn on Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, Howard Shore.
That score is insane.
That is insane. See,
what are your like?
Everyone. So Howard Shore is very interesting to me because everyone thinks Lord of the Rings right away.
Okay.
Right away. That's what he does. But he was the Silence of the Lambs guy for the longest time. So when I was graduating,
I would argue Silence of the Lambs is a better score.
I don't know about that, but
I think so.
But that's also opinion. Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, no, that's completely opinion.
Right.
But
so when I was graduating, I actually went to Boston to graduate, which was amazing. And I met this guy who was in line with me. He lives in Costa Rica.
Mm.
So now I have a friend in Costa Rica. And we were talking, who's your favorite composer? And he immediately was like, Howard Shore, and just went on a little tangent about it. But this guy does he writes ballet music in Costa Rica, and and he's like dancing on stage all the time and does like Tchaikovsky kind of stuff. So it's it's great.
What do you think of Thomas Newman?
Thomas Newman is amazing. I think
so too.
He
might be my favorite young.
The sounds that he has added to, the complexity of sound that he has added to, and this is where the sound comes in when you mentioned that earlier. You said using the word sound, is you could totally talk about Thomas Newman because he's created this whole unique sound of all his own that is just, it's gorgeous.
Right. And
it works seamlessly in any movie he's done. Like,
when you think of Thomas Newman, which score comes to mind?
Road to Perdition.
Finding
Nemo.
Finding Nemo. The first one that comes to my mind,
American Beauty.
I've heard it all the time, was actually The Newsroom.
The TV show.
The TV show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could listen to that. I kind of want to put that on my phone and just have it play sometimes.
Mm-hmm. No, it's great. Yeah.
Okay, so winding down, I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
Well, no, I have 3. Let me talk about this. What's it like for you on your side with Felice, your wife? The give and take of being a composer, working on it all the time. Like, how are you finding a balance in your marriage and a balance in your life?
So, luckily right now, I don't have a 9-to-5 day job. So I can spend the day studying music, listening to stuff I haven't listened to before. I can use that time to practice, to write, to do things. And then she works as a teacher, so she has her 9-to-5 job. So she has to go to bed at a certain time, right? So when she goes to bed, there's more time for me to work and do things. And it's
Same.
Yeah, it's like the give and take of okay, this is the chunk of time that you need to spend, with her and do that kind of stuff. And like when I have days off, I don't do anything with music. I'll just go hang out with her, or whatever it may be. She has her podcast, so she has a lot of stuff going on too. So it's
Helps.
finding it does, but it's also hard to find that time,
Together
for sure.
Yeah,
like,
we are definitely, me and Shannon are definitely big on like scheduling the date
you have
night.
to, yeah.
We share our...
Most of the time it's like, okay, I bought tickets for this thing, so we're going to be together on this day.
Yeah, that's a lot of what it is.
Yeah.
We are buying a lot of tickets to things to make sure that there's a set date
Yeah.
night. Because if it's like, well, maybe we can go to dinner Wednesday. 9 times out of 10, we're like, no, let's just watch TV and just sit and chill for a while. Which is fine, because we need that, too.
So our time together right now is we've blown through Game of Thrones, rewatching that, so we're on the last season until the new one comes out next month, which...
Exciting
for
you?
Yeah.
I wish I cared.
Yeah.
People are begging. I might try it.
When I did,
Shannon's even like,
when I did my interview at for the Hans Zimmer internship that I might be going to, I don't know what's going on with that, but that's a whole other thing.
That's my next question. Can we talk about that at all?
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. You want to talk about that now?
No, finish what you're saying.
But when I went there, I was getting ready to leave, and they give you a little badge, so I was putting that down, giving it to the receptionist, and she was on the phone. She was like, oh, go to Ramin's office and do blah, 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 blah. I didn't care what she was talking about. She just said Ramin's office. I was like, can I go? I'm because he's the Game of Thrones guy, and it just was like, I will do anything you want right now. It might get weird, but let's talk.
Let's talk it out. So, well, let me transition. Oh wait, so before we go to the Hans Zimmer internship, which is crazy, because I want you to detail that whole story, because I think it's going to be a good lesson to anyone listening to take a chance. Yeah. So let's come to that in a second. I might have
screwed that one up.
Uh-oh.
We'll see.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Break down your day for me, though. Like, you wake up,
So most of my days are spent, and I will never stop this, but studying music and practicing. Those are the number one and two things that I do. Do you
start, like, right when you wake up?
No, first I work out.
That's great.
I like to keep myself, busy as much as I can, and I feel like working out is definitely on top of the list, being healthy and all that. But so I'll probably work out, and then I'll check emails and do that kind of stuff.
Right.
But then I get into music, and if I have a project I need to finish, then I'll finish that first, get all that out of the way.
Right.
And then I'll just sit at the keyboard and go over whatever practice material I have or study material. And just spend most of my day doing that, and then I usually work at night. So
are you starting with like scales? What do you mean when you start?
So right now I'm trying to learn more jazz.
And don't be scared about like giving details, because that's really what I'm asking. Like, give me all the details. Like, okay, I'm busting out. Like, what like? Did you have a normal creative day yesterday for you? Like, what is considered normal? Was yesterday it?
Yesterday,
or when? Let's go to your last like normal creative day, and I literally want you to tell me all the details, because I actually want to learn what you're doing.
This could be a whole nother podcast just on its own.
I love it. Let's do it. I mean, we're fine on time, so like.
I mean, it's not as glorious or appealing as it might seem
to you. Trust me, because
I turned my computer on. I turned the keyboard on. Like,
too many details.
Okay.
What I mean is, like, okay, so you wake up, like you said, you go to the gym, you come home, you probably have a coffee, do your emails. But let's go like into so you fire up the computer, and take me through like just the bullet points of the day.
So right now, this is what I'll fill you in on. So right now I'm trying to learn Cubase. It's a music production software, and it's mostly for MIDI software, samples, and less on live stuff. So like, I have always used Pro Tools. It's my go-to. It'll always be my go-to. But I'm trying to branch out and learn other things. And right now Cubase is like the number, I wouldn't say number one, but it's like getting up there and leading, the game right now. So I'm trying to learn that as much as I can. Okay. That also goes back to the Hans Zimmer thing, because that's what they use there mostly.
Got it.
Well, at least Hans Zimmer does. But so I'll literally watch YouTube videos of like tutorials on this and that and try to figure out. And there's things that Pro Tools does, like just finding a tempo in the middle of a song. Like you can just click and say tempo this, whereas in Cubase you have to open up this whole editor.
Oh, I hate that. Another pop-up window to go into.
Yeah, it's like this whole editor, and then you have to. There's a line that goes, and you have to move the line. I don't understand what that is. Whereas Pro Tools, you just hit a mark and say, at this time,
pump it up.
This tempo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So this sounds like, as a film editor, to me, Final Cut and Adobe go together. They're the same thing. I use Adobe now, only Adobe Premiere, and I changed all the shortcuts in Adobe Premiere to the Final Cut presets, so I didn't have to change any of my...
That's what I did when I just started using Cubase, and I changed all the presets to Pro Tools stuff.
It helps a lot.
Yeah.
But then, like, using something like Avid, it's so counterintuitive. Like, I know how to use Avid. I would never use Avid if it was just
I've heard
me
Avid
making
is
my own
going
film.
away, but...
Well, it serves a lot of cool purposes. Like, I used it when I was working on AGT.
And this is the same thing because Avid is Pro Tools. That's what Pro Tools is.
Right.
Avid Pro Tools.
Right.
And it's in the same line as that, where it's like seems like it's seen as old school and very, just not used as much anymore.
Right.
But you go into any studio that's recording live instruments, and what's in the studio is Pro Tools. That's what they use for live recording. It's the number one live recording, whereas Cubase is all digital in the box recorded stuff.
Right.
And then when you go to Logic, which is Apple, their program, it's a mixture of the two. And I feel like that might be where I need to be.
Like, yeah.
As far as recording, but I haven't got there yet. I have Logic. I've used it for many things, but I haven't I haven't fallen in love with it yet, and I might have to just, get myself in there and do it. But.
See, and that's kind of okay. So for me, like going back to like the Premiere thing, I can't get myself away from it.
Pro Tools, I can't get myself away from it.
Because I'm still doing the work. I would have to imagine for a chef, they don't just switch knives all of a sudden. For a painter, they're not just like, I need all new brushes. No, this brush is still good. It's doing, or maybe they buy the same exact brush when that brush wears out. They don't just buy a new brand of brush.
Yeah.
You know what it does. You know how to use it. It fits in your hand like it's a mold. That's the way I feel about Adobe Premiere. That's the way that I feel about, like, for instance, recording a podcast on GarageBand. I know where all the things are. Click, click, click. Now it's done.
Yeah.
I don't have to think. I just move through it when I'm editing it and distributing it and getting it out. And, I know how to work my controls on there. I know, the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't see the need to...
The last short I just worked on, I was like, okay, I'm going to use Cubase so that I can learn it just on the fly while I'm doing it to figure out little things. Because I know the basic outline of it. I just don't know certain...
I hate this part. I just don't know certain.
So I just don't know certain little things in the program, like the keyboard shortcuts. That's what I changed from the Cubase standard to the Pro Tools, and I'm glad they have that. But it's like I can just do this 100 times faster if I just use Pro Tools. And so I was like, I can't do this anymore. Plus, I have the starter version of Cubase because I don't want to spend $400 to get the Pro one. Yeah. And so, because I spent $3,000 getting Pro Tools, like.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
And that was a long time ago. So.
I guess it's a good skill for you if you were going to, like you said, work in an internship setting or work for another composer. If they do use Cubase, know how to use it, yes. But I think, for your own personal work, screw it. But, I don't know. I'm not interested, me personally, in working as a professional editor at this time.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's like, I'm doing what I need to do to get the, I don't run into a situation where my films don't look the way that I want them to.
That's the whole thing is, why would you switch something up if you have the same outcome as someone else, and maybe yours is even better because you're more
more control,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting. Okay, so working on that. So back to your daily schedule. Working on that. And then, so when you're practicing just music, let's say, is it like, are you doing scales, or do you just go straight into like a score that you're
So right now I'm trying to
practicing?
learn jazz scales. I'm trying to learn blues scales. But as a composer, you don't think of you. So when you write for picture, like let's go back to Bernard Herrmann way back in the day when he was writing. He didn't write like, okay, I'm going to take this scale and write this. Now, if someone like John Williams, being who he is, might do that. But
Right.
Bernard Herrmann, how he does it, or how I would do it, or how I think a lot of people do it today.
Hold, please. This is the worst. We got to get a sound studio.
There's
What the fuck?
a trash can right outside the window where I sit and do all my stuff, and it's like, goosh! And I just, like, 3 a.m., I'm like, fucking
So stupid.
freaked out.
What is going on up there? Fuck it. Just keep talking.
Yeah?
Yeah. Fuck it. I'm not gonna wait. Okay. So you work at
So someone
Bernard
like,
Herrmann.
someone today, instead of looking at it as a scale, as a composer, as a film composer, you're trying to make a color or a tone to match the picture, to match a certain feeling. So what they do is they'll use more chord-based writing. So you take a chord, like Bernard Herrmann has these two chords that he married together, and then he wrote a whole score based around them, basically, and to shorten it, the whole idea. But that's basically how I see it. Like Michael Giacchino for the movie Up, it has an amazing score. He won the Oscar for it, and he started with just one chord and wrote around that.
So you still feel though that it's important to keep growing as a
music
musician
theory
as
is
well,
100% necessary and
because it
vital.
gives you more colors,
It
like you
gives
say, to play
you
with.
1,000 more ideas that you can use. It gives you more, although sometimes it's hard to say, like, oh, I have all this stuff, I don't know where to start, you know?
Well, yeah. Okay, exactly. So that's exactly what I'm getting at is, to me, when I'm, because I am still trying to be, I don't spend near enough time, and you're going to find
Yeah.
out when we play music together that I'm not good at all, and I never would say I am. I enjoy it. The reason I play anything is because it's meditation to me.
Yes.
So I'm at a point where I enjoy what I'm doing. It serves its purpose, similar to how we're talking about Adobe Premiere. I play my 20 chords that I know. I can get through songs.
Yeah.
I can sing them out loud as I play. I play about 5 songs. I feel good. I set the guitar down. I walk away.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm doing quick warm-ups of scales and just the weird little finger warm-ups that we do on guitar. See, I said I was going to say as guitarist, and I take it back because I would never call myself a guitarist. But there's so much to learn. Am I going to spend today learning a couple new chords? Am I going to learn a new scale? Am I going to learn some more about music theory that I don't know? Because I know probably up through music theory 1. Am I going to, am I going to try to learn a new song? I always like learning new songs more than I like, Greg's busting out the guitar. Oh, he's not. Okay. Oh, okay. What is this?
I brought this for you.
Oh, amazing. It's the
yours.
Berkeley Music Theory book, number 1, by Paul Schemling. Basic Principles of Rhythm, Scales, and Intervals. Wonderful. I'm going to show you as far as I know.
Disc in the back, too.
Enharmonic equivalents, key signatures. Yeah, got it.
It's the very
Half
basic
steps and whole
of
steps. I got that. Chromatic scales. I got that. Major scales. I bet you I'm not going to make it to the end. I should do the ear training more. The natural minor
Ear training
scale.
is 100% like...
One of the most important things.
Yes.
I'd say minor scales I would trip over. Ascending. See this. Okay, so I'm about halfway through this book, I would say, and that's only in book 1.
That's your book.
So what you're saying is, I'm halfway through book 1, and you went to the next 3 volumes plus.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Learning all that theory, did it change the way that you hear music?
100%.
Like, when you listen to a score now, do you kind of already know what it's going to look like on paper?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's interesting. I was watching a Paul McCartney video, and it's one of those Google ones where they peel away the tape and then reveal like
Google's yeah.
That one.
I saw that one.
Yeah, where he's like, yeah, I don't know how to read sheet music.
Yeah.
And I just sat down and played something that sounded nice.
Yeah.
And that's how he wrote. And I
Well, him talking about putting together Hey Jude was very interesting.
It's hard for me to do it that way now, whereas that's how I used to look at it.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Isn't it amazing that they were able to create such beautiful, beautiful music of all these different music types with very little music theory and knowledge? I mean, imagine if they had learned all that
There's a funny
stuff.
story that
I think they're not
that
letting
he
on to
tells.
how much they know, though.
I think that's 100%. I mean, John Lennon learned a lot. But like,
Harrison knew
there's
a ton.
Yeah, well, Harrison knew everything, but
Yeah.
that's there's a funny story where, because they didn't have computers back then to learn this kind of stuff. So
Right.
like, where would they, figure out what all these chords are, or these scales, or all this stuff? So they tell a story of, one day we heard this guy knew of this new chord, this B whatever chord. So we got on a bus and we went all the way across town just to learn this chord.
Right.
Like, that just blows my mind.
Right, and now we could just be
Now
like,
we have access to everything
B7 minor,
in
da-da-da.
right in front of us. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll pop right up.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wind this down. We're gonna do two things. We're gonna talk about this internship real quick, and then I'm gonna have you show me something on the guitar as like a kind of starting ground that other people can, if they wanted to learn something musically. So tell me about the internship first.
I responded to this one guy on LinkedIn. Well, I didn't respond, but I contacted.
You contacted.
I contacted.
How did you know to contact him?
It was one of the just suggested people.
Wow.
On there, yeah. And I clicked on his thing, sent him a message, and he responded back saying, "Hey, I want to set you up for an interview for this internship." And then I go to the internship interview, and he's like, "This, honestly, that does not happen. That just does not happen.
Doesn't.
You don't get contacted. We've never done that before." And so my mind was blown, right? And then the next day they send, "Oh, we want to offer you an internship on Zimmer Studio." So I sent them all the paperwork and everything. The problem is, because I don't know if they realize the scheduling of the online is different than the actual Boston campus, because it's through Berkeley. It's a Berkeley internship thing. So in the spring semester, the spring semester starts in April for online.
Okay.
Starts in, I believe, January in the actual campus. I think that's right.
That's a big difference.
Difference, right? Yeah. And so I think that they got the scheduling wrong, and so that might affect it, but we'll see.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So, because originally I think you were talking about starting
they
maybe
said
in January.
January to me, and I was like, okay, cool. And then and when I did all the paperwork with my administrative counselor and everything, it just didn't.
So are you in contact with anybody about it?
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear back
okay, great.
right now.
So what would an internship look like through them, do you think?
So I went to a Q&A with this guy, Jeff Zanelli. He's a composer who just did the latest Pirates of the Caribbean. And I was talking to him about it. And what he did was he spent 3 semesters doing the internship there, just like cleaning the toilets and sweeping up and everything, getting coffee, doing that kind of stuff. But in his off time, he got to use the studio and check out their stuff. And then eventually he, worked on some of their stuff, and then it grew out of that. So that's something I would love to have happen,
Well, you just said at the top of this interview, the number one next to John Williams is Hans Zimmer, and this is interning for him. If you're going to intern for anybody, it's one of those two.
Granted, it's for his studio, not him exactly.
Regardless,
but
it's that brand. You're getting
and then I can say,
hey,
I did this, and put that on my resume. Or tell people,
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And that's that's like the thing that I tell people all the time is like internships are so important because it's not about a paycheck. It's about people seeing what you can do and then also learning more information that you don't have and being around it. Like you said, it was one of the things that you said that you wish you would have had that you didn't was being in the studio with live orchestras, et cetera, et cetera. That's the opportunity. I mean, it's like that your missing piece is this thing. So I hope it all works out for you. It's very exciting. And just as a fan of Hans Zimmer and just as a fan of what you do and as somebody who is constantly grinding on the pursuit of the dream. It's like for something like that to happen for you is a beautiful thing that I'm just like very excited to hear more about. And I'd love to have you back on in the future. A few years down the line, if I'm still doing this, I will be. But like, to find out like more information about, it'll be after you score the film. Maybe we'll come back and we'll talk about like what it was like for me and you to work together scoring. So if you had to show somebody something on guitar, what would you show them? Like
what would I show them?
Yeah, what would be the first thing that you would tell somebody?
My random ass picking.
Yeah,
playing,
show me. Yeah,
whatever.
Well, that's it. Because fingerstyle is something that I'm not great at.
Yeah, and I'm by no means good.
You sound good. Let me hear something. Grab the guitar. We'll just.
By no means am I good.
You're pretty damn good.
Guitar is definitely my weakest instrument.
Okay, guitar is his weakest instrument. That being said, he's better than I am, and that's pretty good. But also, this goes back to what we were saying is like, as a composer, you're kind of a jack of all trades musician.
I try to be.
And I think that's a good thing because I would say that, like some guitarists are just guitarists, but they can't compose.
Yeah.
Some drummers are just drummers. You can drum and play guitar and piano and compose. Like, it's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. What do you...
Just finger pick some stuff,
So my whole thing is I started out just with my index and my thumb, just picking away at strings. And what I developed was this thing where I skip a string.
Yeah.
And then I go backwards and hit that.
Okay.
So that's kind of my signature sound or whatever you want to call it. So that's like what I've developed over the years before I learned to use the rest of my fingers because I was very slow with the guitar at that.
Well, it takes forever to build up the speed for it.
I think if you practice enough, like...
Oh, you really
daily,
have to. Daily.
You can get it pretty quick, but I just haven't been practicing that because I practiced with my two fingers and I was like, oh, it sounds great. I'm going to keep it like that.
Well, I remember the first time you did it in front of
So, like, yeah, and then learning, like, hammer-ons and hammer-offs and things like that are very...
So would you recommend somebody start with two fingers first?
No,
start with all the fingers.
Yeah, because if you want to develop the whole hand, it's really better to just start that way because then you'll develop this one thing and you'll be really good at that, but you'll rely on it too much. Yeah, I'm trying to use all my fingers, see?
So is that like the thing how much time are you spending on this a week?
Every day. A week? How much time? Like 3-4 hours?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Not that much. My problem is that I'll come up with something, like I'll just play something and be like, oh, I gotta write that down. And then I open up my program, takes 25 minutes to load, and then I'm like, okay, and then a piano instead.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so yeah, you kind of go where the muse takes you.
I have an idea in my head, I'm like, oh, I have to put this idea down.
So yeah, you're following the muse if it comes. That's
Basically,
most important.
Yes.
An idea is more important than focus on... Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's kind of where I'm at, because like on a daily basis for me, I'll be like... I think I'm going to get this edit done. And then it'll be like, I'll start the edit and then all of a sudden I'll get an idea on another project and I'm like, I got to get it down. I don't want to lose it.
Yeah, and that's the problem is that you don't want to start another thing when you haven't finished what you were working on before because then you'll never get anything done.
Right. You're all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I have 1,000 projects that I haven't, done anything with, but
I'm telling you, I'm the same way. Well, that's kind of the thing that I came about is like, okay, I've got all these scripts, but I'm not making them, so I have to stop writing and I have to make myself not write anymore.
See, and my problem is that I feel like I don't feel like I have small hands, so it's harder for me to reach certain things.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I was practicing some jazz scales yesterday, and there was just a stretch of 10 keys. I couldn't do that. 8 keys I can do, 9 keys I can do, but I can't do 10.
I don't have big fingers in the middle, but my span from thumb to pinky is pretty wide.
You could probably do it.
I was always okay at the stretch on the piano, And actually, like, I heard that Jimi Hendrix would wrap his thumb around to get the top E.
That's what a lot of people do, and I can't do that.
I've started working on it a lot, but I'm forcing myself to bring that pinky up there. But the dexterity in the hands, you know, like my left used to be the weakest. Now I think it's faster.
You can
and
make
smoother
anything
than my
sound
right.
good if you have the right technique going.
Yeah.
That's almost more important than actually learning like the scales, keys, chords.
Yeah. So, all right, so we got like 30 seconds or whatever. Give me one last little lick there.
See how I'm using 2 fingers?
You're covering the ground, though.
So this is what, like, my most that I play. I'm playing on your guitar, so it feels a little different, so...
Different woman. That was beautiful. Well, Greg, thank you so much for being on Hollywood Happy Hour podcast. You were nervous about it.
I'm still nervous about it.
Why? It was amazing. You were great. All right. Well, I am going to now end this episode by replaying our new theme music, written and composed and brought to us by Gregory Fisher. Also, where can they find you at, social media-wise?
I'm not great with my social media, but let's see.
Well, tell us your SoundCloud. Because they can go listen to some of your music on there, right?
An Evening In.
An Evening In.
Which is what or it might be An Evening in Studios? No, it's an Evening In, which is my studio name. I have that also on Instagram. It's An Evening in Studios, I believe.
Right.
But yeah, just those two.
Well, go check them out on Instagram and SoundCloud, An Evening In Studios. And that's it. That was Gregory Fisher. Thanks, Greg, for coming on. This is very fun making these, because I'm actually learning a lot. Like, I learned a lot from Greg on this one. I've learned a lot from the other people that I've interviewed. You know, that's why I kind of love that I'm keeping this low key, interviewing, you know, the people around me. Because one, I'm learning about them. I see them all the time, but I'm still learning things about them that I never would have learned had I not started this podcast. I'm learning about different areas of things that I don't do. Like, I'm not, if you know, like, I love talking to actors, but I love that I'm mixing it up and learning about, you know, all these areas that I have some interest in, and then I get it fleshed out. So it's been fun. I love making the podcast. And I will be back in your feed very soon with a new episode. Next episodes include Sam Valentine, a film debate with Jason Matlock, and a couple other ones that I can't quite say just yet, but I'm very excited about. So I'm out of here. Catch you later. This new music is done.